Hey guys, and welcome back to Golf with Jen. Today's video is going to be basically a tournament recap of my 3-week stretch in Arkansas. So as many of you guys know, I just finished a 3-week tournament stretch in Arkansas. I went from Hot Springs to Fairfield Bay to Conway in Arkansas. So I already uploaded a video about my tournament in Hot Springs, which I finished 6th. In Fairfield Bay, where we played at Mountain Ranch Golf Club, I finished 31st, I think. Okay, so let's just go over it. Hot Springs, I shot 74 to finish at even par, so I finished 6th. And then in Fairfield Bay, I shot 70. Okay, I shot a total of 9 over for 3 days. I think it was like 1 over, 73, 77, and 75. Is that 9 over? Yeah, I think so. 9 over to finish 31st, I think. Yeah, and then in Conway, I shot 68, 78, and 72 to finish 11th. So I had quite a bit of an interesting run for those 3 events, and I thought I would kind of give you guys the lowdown of what happened, things that were going on, stuff like that, and basically my experience playing the 3 weeks in Arkansas. So as many of you guys may or may not know, this was actually my first time ever being in Arkansas, and I really loved the golf courses there. I think that it was a lot more like the golf courses that I play at home, just because they're more tree lined, they're not so open, they don't like, you know, run, your ball doesn't run for miles like it does in Texas. So it's a little bit more similar to the conditions that I play at home. That in itself was very fun. But for all 3 courses in Arkansas, I felt like they were very different courses. I already did my review of Hot Springs, so I'm not really going to touch on that. So I'll touch more on Mountain Ranch and Centennial, which was the one in Conway. And the funny thing about Mountain Ranch was like every single part of the golf course seems to be slanted. I think maybe it's because it's in the mountain, but it was literally like the greens were slanted, the tee boxes were slanted, everything seems to be like crooked. And then in Conway, everything on the greens were always sloping from the back to the front. So it seems like there's a lot of slope in Arkansas. I don't know if this is true, but that's just my experience. And as you guys can see, there was a little bit of like a up and down scoring for my 3 tournaments. There was quite a lot of good and quite a lot of not so good. One of the things that I wanted to talk about in this video is that here's the thing, it could be very easy for me to just tell you guys all the things that went wrong, how, you know, I could have saved so many strokes, how I could win every event if everything goes well. But at the same time, everybody can win every event if everything goes well, because if everything goes well, I believe in such a thing as when it's your turn to win, you're gonna win, and nobody's gonna stop you from winning, because it's just gonna happen. It might happen in unconventional ways, but either way, it's going to happen. So I think that every single week you go out there, yeah, you could shoot 68 and still be like, darn, I missed like 6 putts today and I could have shot 62. That's just the reality of golf. You can't make everything. That's not going to happen. Like, that's just not realistic. Even on days where you might shoot 59, I'm sure you're gonna think to yourself, oh, I could have shot 58. That's just part of it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what I felt and how I felt like. So I have written down a few questions of how I would explain to you guys in a more positive manner, instead of just dwelling on all the things that could have gone better. I'm just gonna kind of tell you guys what happened, how I felt, and what I feel like I can improve and what I'm going to work on for upcoming tournaments. So first of all, going back to Hot Springs, from that tournament you could see that I shot 70 in the first day, and then I shot 74 on my third or also second day of the tournament, just because of the rain. So it was a 2-day tournament. And on the day that I shot 74, I actually felt like my ball striking with my irons were really bad. If I wanted to go somewhere, my ball was not doing that. Like if I was aiming for 5 yards right of the pin, it was not going 5 yards right off the pin, and I didn't really know where it was going. I was missing a lot of greens. My short game was a big savior on that day, and even then I only shot 74 because you can't miss almost every green and expect to shoot under par. That's just not going to happen unless you are really, you know, on it that day and you're just chipping in from everywhere. That 2-over on that last day, I already felt like something was going on in my swing, but because it was a 3-week tournament stretch, I didn't really have time to go work on my swing. So what I did was the next day, that's thunder by the way, there's like a tornado watch, but it's really nice right now, so I decided to come out here. So let's hope we don't get hit by a tornado. But anyway, moving on. So after the tournament, I drove to Mountain Ranch, which was where our next tournament was going to be. On the day itself that I drove there, I went to the driving range immediately after, and I went to use a TrackMan, which the tour has, so that we can borrow. And I went to see some numbers and try to see why my ball striking was so bad. And then I sent a lot of it to my coach, and we actually had a virtual session on the range. So we talked about a couple of things, a couple of reasons, just so that I could understand why I was doing what I was doing. So as you guys know, in tournament mode, you know, I went straight from one tournament to the other. There was no way I was going to do some kind of like miraculous change overnight unless, you know, it was an alignment thing or something like that, but it was something to do with my swing, which I know it's something that I've been working on. But basically, you know, I think it's just week over week of playing non-stop and just not really having the time to practice, and it kind of just like escalated in that one round, and it was kind of leaking onto the rest of the rounds. But what I tried to do with my coach in that range session was to just try to get it under control. So in Fairfield Bay, I did not hit it very good either. It kind of went from my irons to my driver. So in Fairfield Bay, in fact, I actually took out my driver for one of the rounds because I felt like it was not going where I wanted it to go, and because I was not hitting it very solid, it was also not going very far. So I actually ended up just hitting, like my final round, I just teed off with my 3-wood because the 3-wood was going further than my driver because I just wasn't hitting it very good. And in Fairfield Bay, it was a much tighter, more narrow course because it's a mountain course. So what we needed to do in that tournament was to hit fairways. So even though I did not have the best result, considering the way that I was hitting the ball, I was actually not too upset about it. I was upset about one hole, which I 4-putted, but that was the difference on the final day between me finishing a decent position and me finishing 31st. But you know, like I said, like this kind of things just happen. I think I still went around the course very well other than that one hole, but it's not something that I want to like take away from that tournament. I think based on that tournament, what I want to focus on is the fact that I actually, if you guys follow my Instagram, well, I basically give little reviews of my tournament rounds on there because it's much easier to create an Instagram post versus creating a video for you guys. So if you guys want immediate what would you call that, like analyzation or tournament recaps, make sure you're following my Instagram account. But yeah, anyway, one of the things I said was I basically played golf that week, which was something that I think is a big achievement because, you know, it's so hard to not think about what to do in your golf swing when you're not hitting it well, especially when you're in a tournament and every shot is money. You know, you're just going out there thinking, oh, you know, I'm not hitting it well. Should I start thinking about my swing? Should I start doing certain things in my swing? Because you're already not hitting it well, so you know that whatever you do is going to be better than what it is right now. But I think I did a really good job of, instead of putting the driver in play when I was not confident in it, take out my 3-wood because the 3 was going as far as the driver. And it's not to say that it's going to like give me a mental block on my driver. I just knew that for that tournament, it was not something that was going to benefit me, so there was no point doing it. So I took the driver out because I was confident in my 3-wood. My 3-wood got me around. It wasn't super good either, but it was straight enough. It was long enough for me to play the golf course. And I think that is something that I want to take away from that tournament, because in that tournament, even though I was hitting it really badly, I actually really focused on getting the ball on the hole, which is something that I think previously I would have struggled with. And that's why I said, even though, I mean, if you divide 9 over by 3 days, it's 3 over a day. and we all know it's so easy to cut 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, 4 shot, 5 shots. It's always going to be, you know, there's always going to be a little bit mistakes here and there which you could have definitely fixed. So I feel like when you look at it that way, even though my ball striking was not good or not on point in that tournament, I did a good job of staying in the present, just getting the ball in the hole and finishing the round. So I was not too upset about Fairfield Bay, just because I felt like I did a good job of being mentally present and just mentally doing the best that I could. So moving on to my last tournament, which was Conway Centennial Valley golf course, which was in Conway. So I finished 11th there. I shot 68, which I was the first round leader, and I shot 78 and I shot 72. Like I said, honestly, there's so many things that I could say about the round, you know, so many things which could have been better, which could have, you know, ultimately led me to win that tournament. I mean, I shot 4 under the first day and the winning score was 5 under. So if I could have just shot consistently, I could have easily finished at least in the top 3. Obviously, just like I just said just now, if you're meant to win, you're meant to win. On the second day, it was like everything was not going my way. It's not that I did anything really badly. On that golf course, like I said before, the entire greens basically slope from the back to the front. So hitting it at the right places is very important. A lot of the pin positions were on slopes, so missing it on the wrong spot, you could very easily make bogeys, and it was very difficult to make birdies because on some of the holes you weren't even going for the pins. So I think that ball striking was important there, because hitting it in the right spot is important, and then making sure that you give yourself uphill putts, because downhill, side hill putts were really difficult, and it was very easy to make 3 putts from there. Like I said, there's so many things that I could have done better, and those are things that I'm going to work on. But also I felt like after the first round, I had a bogey-free 68. Coming from a tournament where I just hit the ball so badly, for the first round, for me to play that kind of round, I knew that there's nothing wrong with my swing. It's just, you know, sometimes, you know, it's a little bit of tempo, a little bit of rhythm. The golf swing is such an intricate thing. When you play week after week, little things are just gonna need a bit of tweaking. And it was nice to know that even though the week before, just a couple days before, I was hitting the ball really badly, I was able to come back, have a bogey-free 68. That's something that I want to build upon. And I don't really want to focus on the second day, because I don't feel like I did anything really badly. It just wasn't my day. Just felt like one of those days where you just couldn't make anything, and everything that you could miss, you missed. So it's just one of the things that you face in golf, and I'm glad that I came back on the last day with a 72 as well. And even with that 72, it was honestly an unlucky 72. I hit good shots that just didn't have good outcomes on certain holes. And you know, I birdied the last hole, which that's the main thing that I want to focus on, because that whole day I was just barely missing everything. So making a birdie in the last hole, I really wanted that birdie, because the previous day that last hole gave me a 2-shot drop because I double bogeyed it. And it wasn't because I did anything badly, it was literally just unluckiness. But because that was what happened the previous day, I went into that hole thinking, I'm 1 over par right now, I made a double bogey here yesterday, I want to make a birdie here. And that's exactly what I did. I hit it the drive that I needed to hit. It wasn't a perfect drive, but it was where it had to be. I hit the approach shot on the green. It wasn't super near, it was pretty far actually. It was not the approach shot that I wanted to hit, especially because I had a 52-degree in my hand, which is one of the shots that I know that I have in the bag that I can hit it close to the pin. I hit it like 30 feet from the pin, which I was obviously unhappy about, because I have a 52-degree wedge going into this green and I hit it 30 feet from the pin. But I went up there with this conviction that I had to make this birdie, and I wanted to finish with the birdie. And you know, it's just like, and when I sunk that putt, I just knew that that was like pure will. It's like, you know, I've been trying to do that an entire day, but for it to finally go into the hole on the last hole, that just felt like something was like, okay, you can do this, Jen. Like, there's nothing wrong with your swing, there's nothing wrong with your game. This is for you to end on a high note, I feel like, you know. So like I said, I felt like there was so many, I don't want to ramble on forever because I feel like this video could be an hour long, But like I said, there's so many things that I could say in terms of like this because this happened, or you know, I was unlucky here and this cost me to make this, blah blah blah. But at the same time, there's so many things that I want to take from it, and rather than focusing on all the negatives and all the things that happened to me, which was the reason why, you know, I either didn't finish on top or I didn't do this, blah blah blah, I can focus on all the things that went well instead, because there were a lot of things that went well. And that's the good point about it, you know. It's sometimes I forget that before this I've only played a couple of tournaments and I haven't played for such a long time. It's going to take practice just to be in tournaments again, and it's nice to know that when my game is solid, you know, it's not even like the best that I could have shot, but when it was solid, I was still leading the field, which means that I can do it. It's just nice to have that reassurance, because this is a tour that I've never played on. These are people that I've never played against. So coming here, I don't really know where I stand. So it's nice to know that when I do well, you know, I will do well. So all I need to do now is to work on what I need to work on and just let the winning take care of itself. So I have built a plan for the next 2 weeks. I actually just got my second dose of my COVID vaccine today. So I took today off and I might take tomorrow off. I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel. Right now I feel fine. It's been like 4 or 5 hours since my vaccine jab and I'm feeling fine. But we'll see. Also, the weather has been really bad here. But I have created a plan at least for the next week, which is the next week before I start traveling again. And I will try to take you guys through some of that, but there's a lot of things that I do want to work on, and there's a lot of things that I want to build upon as well. And I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited to play in more events. I just love competing. I love golf, so it's really nice to be back doing what I love. And that's just what I'm telling myself every day. Like, Malaysia's back in a lockdown, if you guys didn't know. And I'm just so grateful to be here, to be able to compete, and to have the support from all of you guys, because you guys made this possible. So yeah, I'm gonna end this video here before it is an hour long, but thank you guys so much if you guys made it all the way to the end. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like me and want to support my journey, and I will try to create more content for you guys. I'm sure it will be coming soon, because I know I've been a little bit behind on it, but I will create more content for you guys this upcoming weeks, and then I will be ready to get back to competing. And I hope you guys continue supporting my journey and continue being on Team Gen, because you guys are the best. Love you guys.